What are you doing? Giving you your reward.
Your eternal reward.
Stellaris Dev Diary 238 is out. We have ascensions, betas, and even more. We are going to be finding out about planetary ascension tiers, teased last week, what they are, what they're going to do, and basically what on earth is going on there. We've got some changes to some civics coming up. You might be quite happy about one of them and quite upset about the other. We've also got the possible return of clerk meta. I say return, we haven't had a clerk meta before, but maybe we should give it a chance. And stick around to the end because we have two big announcements coming from Paradox, but without any further ado, let's dive in. This was teased last week in the Dev Diary, but we already have a lot more information this week. Planetary ascension tiers, how do we get them, what are they, and what do they do? Well, they are tied to unlocking ascension perks. They are a way of improving your core worlds by expending unity. In a normal empire, they represent the active will of the people supporting your government and giving it that little bit extra to do things the way they've just always been done. In Machine and Hive Empires, it's more the well-oiled machinery of the world gaining efficiency or drone instincts becoming better, that sort of thing. Now, in either case, an ascended planet does whatever it focuses on better. Now, what does that mean? Well, every planet has a designation. What these planetary ascension tiers are going to do is they are going to improve that designation. The first ascension tier will increase all of the effects of the planet's designation by 25%, and this is true no matter the world type. Any technician output from a generator world, for instance, that's going to get boosted. The reduction in upkeep for metallurgists on an alloy world, that's going to get boosted. Even the orbital bombardment damage reduction on a fortress world will be boosted as well. Now, you do need to unlock 3 ascension perks in order to upgrade your ascension tier on the first planet. Each additional ascension perk you unlock increases the maximum ascension tier by 1. And it's important to note here, you don't actually need to spend these ascension perks, you just have to unlock those slots. And then finally, once you unlock all of the perk slots, you get an extra 4 tiers. This means you can ascend a planet up to 10 times for a maximum bonus of 250% of the base planetary designation effects. That would mean if you manage to get a level 10 ascended Foundry Ecumenopolis world, your metallurgist would get a minus 70% to their job upkeep. That is absolutely bonkers. And if you're enjoying this video, please posthumously reassign that like button. Now, what does this all cost? Well, ascending a planet is going to cost unity, and this cost is heavily affected both by your sprawl and the total number of ascension tiers you have across your entire empire. At present, it costs the same amount of unity to raise your first planet to Ascension Tier 2 as it would to raise 2 planets to Ascension Tier 1. Now, they don't actually specify how it's going to continue from there, whether it will cost the same to raise from Tier 2 to Tier 3 as 3 times Tier 1, or whether it's going to be doubled again. If it doubles again, that means it would cost 512 times the base cost of moving to Tier 1 in order to move to Tier 10, which would be very, very expensive. Personally, I don't think they're going to implement it that way around. I think that raising to Tier 3 will cost 3 times raising to Tier 1, but we will just have to see. Now, they do basically point out that you will need to decide whether you want to raise a lot of your planets to low Ascension tiers or focus on reaching the very heights of Ascension on your most productive core worlds. They will be watching how players use planetary ascension tiers, and they'll be very, very interested in our feedback regarding current costs and perceived benefits during the open beta. And we will get to that open beta very, very soon because there is a big, big announcement coming in today's Dev Diary. But currently, planetary ascension tiers are only lost if the planet permanently changes owners, not merely from occupation, or alternatively, it's also lost if the planet is abandoned. So as long as you don't lose the planet, it is safe and sound with the ascension tiers. But if someone conquers it from you, it will lose all of that unity that you have put into it. Very, very scary. And now we get more of the information on Unity rework. We were told last week there was more info coming, and here we go. So, Paradox have continued refining some of the elements of Unity rework, as mentioned last week, and some civics and authorities have undergone even more changes. One change from last week is that they have swapped out the sprawl bonus from the capital worlds for a production bonus instead. They've also found that starting with penalties isn't very fun, so sprawl under 50 is going to be ignored for all empires. Death cults will now be able to build either regular temples or sacrificial temples to suit their needs, and the memorialist special building line now replaces the Auto-Chthon monument and has gained the extra unity per ascension perk of the monument line. Hives will also have access to their own variants as well, the Sensorium. Now, some of you are going to be in for a bit of a shock here. We are losing our administrators. Or, more to the point, our administrators are being renamed as politicians. Administrator is going to be the category term for bureaucrats, priests, and other unity or unifying jobs that guide your empire. And the bureaucrat colony designation will also be renamed to administrative center to better apply any of these jobs. Politicians will, to all intents and purposes, be identical to the previous administrators we had, but now they've got an interesting new name and an interesting new backstory. And yes, you will have to suspend your disbelief a little bit here that politicians can be productive, but hey ho. The next thing coming up is a bit of a nerf to a couple of civics. Well, one civic is getting a change, the other is getting a big slap in the face. Those civics are technocracy and merchant guilds. They have been modified to no longer grant incidental unity bonuses. That means technocracy is changing quite a lot. Your researchers will no longer give you additional unity. You will still get a politician job replaced with a science director. And instead of the extra unity, you're now going to get +1 research alternatives. That does somewhat harken back to the old days when we had science directorate government type, which gave us +1 research alternative. If you've been playing since 1.0, you will know what I'm talking about. But this is a sidestep for technocracy. I don't necessarily think it's a downgrade though, as I'm pretty sure they're going to reduce the upkeep cost of your researchers back down to the regular 2. And on top of that, you no longer, and this is really quite important, no longer have to be fanatic materialist in order to get the bonuses. There's also something quite interesting talked about here, and that is the research expertise bonuses, such as expertise voidcraft, of your scientists are now doubled when selecting technologies to offer. That means that the technologies, if you have a voidcraft scientist, will have twice the likelihood to come up. This can be very, very useful for those of you that are trying to get very specific technologies down the tech tree. Let's say you want to rush something like megastructures or battleships. This means technocracy could be really, really quite powerful, especially in combination with the +1 research alternatives. I actually think we could be seeing a return to technocracy being one of the top dogs of the bio civics. And merchant guilds losing that additional unity generation from all of your merchants actually makes the civic a little bit crap. You really don't need to take this if you want to go for a trade-based focused build for your empire, because you can just take the merchant tradition, fill that out, or mercantile tradition should I say, fill that out and get access to merchants through your commercial zones and commerce megaplexes. If you've got any strong feelings or just feelings in general on these changes, please let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Now we have something quite special actually, and this is, I think, really quite cool. This could shake up the meta a little bit for Megacorps. What is it? Well, the custodian team has the mandate to work on directives that come straight from the game director, quality of life changes they think would improve the game, community requests that they wish to champion, and also they have the right to pitch what they like to call passion projects for things they simply want to do. One of these is coming to life, so to speak, as the permanent employment Megacorp Civic. What does this civic do? Well, it allows us to build posthumous employment centers where we get reassigners, and they turn consumer goods and either food or minerals into monthly organic pop assembly. All of these assembled pops will have the zombie trait, and also you will be able to resurrect defeated organic leviathans sometimes. Basically, this is the reanimators Civic, but for Megacorp. However, it is going to allow us from the start of the game to get monthly organic pop assembly on our worlds. And not only that, these zombies are quite special actually. Reassigners will be giving 2 monthly organic pop assembly, as you can see, and this should work in combination with something like budding, making it really quite fun indeed. Zombies produce 25% less resources from jobs, but in exchange for that, their pop upkeep is reduced by 100%. That means they have no upkeep. They cannot generate leaders and they cannot be employed in ruler or specialist jobs. They cannot reproduce naturally and they are completely unaffected by happiness. But let's say you combine these zombies with something like Thrifty and suddenly clerks become fantastically powerful. Imagine an army of zombie clerks costing no upkeep whatsoever and producing phenomenal amounts of trade value. Because of course, resources from jobs modifiers is not going to affect our trade output, and therefore zombie clerk hordes, it just sounds so good. It is somewhat a shame that this has come at this time in the game in patch 3.3, as we really want to be increasing the efficiency of each of our individual pops and reducing the overall number of pops in our empire, as we have no longer got any way of stopping empire sprawl getting out of hand. And now there are 2 big announcements. The first one, quite a fun one, the Stellaris Dev Clash is coming back, and I will put a link to the announcement trailer in the description. But basically, at the end of this month, every Monday, I believe, the Dev Clash is returning. So let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. And even bigger than that is the second announcement, and that is that the open beta that has been talked about again and again is currently live. It's live right now. I've tried it. I have tried building some undead clerks. Here we are. Look at my clerks. Aren't they magnificent, beautiful, and wonderful? But you can go right now and jump into the 3.3 Unity open beta. If you go to Steam, you can just opt into that beta and you can start having a go at this new open beta. There are a big bunch of patch notes. I'm not going to cover them in this video because I think that's a little outside the scope of the Dev Diary. We're already quite far through and it's a big lot of patch notes. So if you'd like me to cover the patch notes, leave a comment down below, and if there's interest, I will cover it. And if you'd like to watch something else from this channel, the video on screen now has been chosen specifically for you.